Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new action thriller, Cash Out, and this is from director Ives, starring John Travolta as a seasoned thief who winds up getting pulled into a misinformed, not particularly advised bank heist run by his brother, played by Lucas Haas. And what complicates things is you have FBI agent Kristen Davis' Amelia, Kristen Davis of Sex and the City fame, who winds up being on this case, who has a history with Travolta's Mason Goddard. And their dynamic's supposed to be one of the key central elements of the film. This film, I feel like, shows that John Travolta can still be a charismatic lead in something. He brings some of his moments to life in an effective and an authentic kind of way. I think Haas is fun enough in terms of like what his role is. I feel like Davis isn't particularly interesting, and I don't know how much I buy her as like this FBI agent. That element of the story didn't work for me. The brother connection did, and some of the other members of this crew that we get a chance to learn a little bit about and connect with in a little bit of a more structured kind of way. But this particular film has, you know, bank heist elements. There's something bigger, more conflicting going on that might be below the surface. And, you know, it's the kind of film that hits a lot of those kinds of beats. This whole thing where it's like it's a global conspiracy by, like, the bad people, it's not really a fresh story at this point. And I kind of feel like that takes away from some of the elements of the film, that this winds up being ridiculously predictable. And it's, you know, just over an hour and 30 minutes, so it's not a big ask, but also doesn't have the best pacing. It kind of feels like it's methodical, taking its time. There's definitely long stretches between people talking, and especially with like John Travolta's character. I feel like this film really has a strong anchor in Travolta, has a basic idea that works. It just leans in too heavily into a lot of these elements that are really familiar. But what you're really trying to get out of this film is like an action flick. It feels like a straight-to-VOD action flick. You're not going to have high expectations. I don't know if they need anybody besides, you know, John Travolta here, who's really trying to do his best to make the most of this little action film that's going straight to VOD. But it's one of those kinds of experiences that nothing is particularly really bad, except for maybe some of the special effects. But everything's so mediocre and forgettable, and everybody's kind of getting into their groove in terms of what they're doing. This particular film just kind of leans heavily on Travolta, leans heavily on his big concept, and the usage of, you know, this conspiracy that it's bigger than you would expect and where it's going. And it's one of those kinds of films that after a while you're just like, what are really the stakes here? What's really going on here? How invested do I feel? And by the end you're kind of just like, I just hope that John Travolta makes it out okay. And it's one of those kinds of films that will certainly deliver on the expectations that you have for it. Outside of that, I wouldn't recommend this to too many people. I would like to see John Travolta doing some more interesting things than this. But, you know, there's always that kind of, if you're just looking for an action flick and you're perfectly fine with like a very stereotypical, uninspired kind of heist film, there you go. That's what this is. But those are my thoughts on Cash Out. Let me know what you think. Let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.